I'm Tom Donaldson, and I come by way of a long winding background. My current position is at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania, where I am the Mark O. Winkelman Professor. I've been there for about 20 years. Prior to that, I was at the School of Business at Georgetown University. Prior to that, for a brief stint at the University of Virginia, and prior to that at Loyola University of Chicago. Well, you know, I come by this connection to business ethics from philosophy by way of personal schizophrenia. In other words, I had a business degree. I worked in business for a couple of years. I was always fascinated by philosophy, so decided to pursue a Ph.D. in philosophy. But by the time I graduated, there was, inside, a sense of two worlds that didn't connect. So to some extent, my career has been a working out of something quite personal. So the two worlds that were working their way out inside of me were, on the one hand, the world of business, which I had come to respect enormously, especially for the practical attention to people. But on the other hand, in my philosophy studies, I was exposed to some theories that I came to take very seriously that didn't mix with what I had learned in my business school experience. And I suppose in a way that personal challenge ended up giving me what became a mission, and that is to try to institutionalize the teaching of ethics in schools of business so that the person who graduates with a business degree can have these two worlds connect inside themselves. My days at Loyola, and I was there for 11 years, launched some ideas, some of which have still not reached fruition. But I began at that point to try to crystallize, at least for myself, how some basic philosophical concepts, such as the social contract, might fit with some of these realities that we were encountering in case studies. So the first book that I wrote, Corporations and Morality, was focused on how we can conceive the business by backing away, almost the way that the famous philosopher John Rawls did, with a social contract to ask questions about what is business's proper role in society? What would be the terms of a deal, as it were, between rational people in society and the business institutions that they create? Now, beyond that, I was led to think about these matters at a global level, beyond domestic. At that point, as now, issues of corruption, issues of dominance by corrupt governments of business were prominent. So it was at that point, with my next book, The Ethics of International Business, that I took on questions of human rights. Because I've always thought, and I still think, that the moral language of human rights is the best accepted and the most applicable to the business world. I mean, obvious questions arise. So businesses don't go around just violating rights willy-nilly. So the question that came to me was, how can we take this body of thinking and give it application in a way that guides managers? And one of the ideas that started to germinate, which I articulated in the book, was that businesses don't have the same responsibilities with respect to human rights as others, but we can map those in terms of their special obligations. They may be more limited than your obligation and mine or that of the nation state, but they exist and they're important for business. Not everybody who works in business ethics has the opportunity to work directly with businesses, but I had that luxury over the course of my career. And I guess it's obvious that businesses sometimes need to reach out to find guidance, at least if they hit a hard patch that they don't know what to do with. Now, my experience, by the way, has been that there are two kinds of companies that tend to give you a call. They're the ones that take great pride in how well they're doing, and often for very good reasons. And then there are the ones that had their ships wrecked on rocks, are crying out and sometimes want cover to show that they're now embarked on a decent course. But you know, I just would add that it's not only corporations, it's also other organizations. So I've worked with not-for-profit organizations. I did a session, for example, with Kofi Annan and the Associate Secretary Generals in the wake of the oil for food scandal. I've done some work with the World Bank and with the IMF. When it comes to working with businesses, one has to be careful, I think, in a position like mine, or anybody who's in business ethics. You don't really want to be used as a kind of cover or as a part of their publicity effort. So I tend to make clear that what I'm going to do is basically internal, and it's not to be used for publicity purposes. One also has to decide whether it's only the companies that have strong positive reputations one is going to work with. And I must tell you, I've done a fair amount of work. I've met twice with the board of Walmart and have done a fair amount of work with Walmart over the years. At least for me, and I know Walmart has been subject to a lot of criticism, it's really important not to let reputation, whether good or bad, impact what you think you might be able to do. The real question is whether you think you can do something positive for the organization. The obvious answer is that we still have a long ways to go with technology and how issues of privacy, issues of intellectual property, and so on, which are the proper province of moral thinking, how they're going to be worked out in this brave new world, the digital world. Beyond that, I worry that the push against, and again, I'm saying this in 2019, but the push against global community, which is represented in, at least currently, in the notions of populism and some of the leadership that we have around the world, is going to damage enormously our ability to connect at this broader level of ethics that we so desperately need in an international economy. You know, if I were to look on the horizon and ask what success factors were for business ethics, I'd turn immediately to the approach that's taken by business schools, and in particular administrators and donors, supporters, alumni of business schools. Business, at the level at which, say, at Wharton, it is taught, is a profession. And these are professional credentials that we hand to people at the end of their journey and send them off into the world to do what? Yes, to benefit the world by bringing more wealth, both to themselves and to other people. But because, as educators, our cause is to teach a professional school, I think inevitably business has to be viewed as a profession, and like law, like medicine, be understood as having ingrained in the profession certain commitments to the public good. That change alone, I think, and you're starting to see it in some of the business schools, can make an enormous difference, I think, in the future.